Hi guys, welcome back to Queen G's Recipes, and today I'm going to be showing you how I like to make my chocolate chip pumpkin loaf. It is very simple, but the results are amazing. Pumpkin season is just around the corner, and I can't wait to bring you more of my fall baking creations, so stay tuned. Now let's go over the ingredients. Now, before we go over the ingredients, I want to introduce a special guest, my daughter, and the one and only Oneinaminion.
Hey guys!
Okay, so she's going to be helping me make our chocolate chip pumpkin loaf today, and let's go over the ingredients. Okay, so for our ingredients, we're going to be needing 1 teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice. That is actually the pumpkin pie spice that I did make on my channel, and I will link it in the description box. You're also going to be needing 1 cup of pumpkin puree. Make sure you're using the pumpkin puree and not pumpkin pie filling, because they have additives like spices and other things, and we don't want that. We just want the plain pumpkin puree. You're also going to be needing 2 eggs, 2 whole eggs, 1/4 cup of milk, 1/4 cup of softened butter at room temperature. You're also going to be needing 1/2 cup of vegetable oil. Any flavorless oil will do. 2 cups of flour. In the flour, we also have 1½ teaspoons of baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/8 teaspoon of salt. So if you are using a salted butter, you can just omit the salt in the flour mixture. You're also going to be needing a little over 1/2 cup of chocolate chips, and some of it is going to be for sprinkling on top of the loaf. We will need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and we're also going to be needing to preheat our oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and we'll be baking our loaf for 50 minutes to 1 hour, so you can get your oven preheated right now. So let's move on to the next step. And last but not least, we will be needing 3/4 cups of sugar and 1/2 cup of brown sugar. Don't forget, you will also be needing a loaf pan. I have buttered, actually I did not butter, I just sprayed it with some non-stick spray, but if you want to use some butter and put it on, it's the same thing, it'll work the same way. I also use some parchment paper for easy release once it is baked and cooled, and you'll need a bowl and a whisk to whisk your ingredients. You can use an electric handheld whisk or a standing mixer, but honestly it is not necessary at all. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, so first of all, we're going to mix our dry ingredients. Just gently incorporate the baking soda, baking powder, salt, and flour. Once you have done that, you're going to add about 2 tablespoons into the chocolate chips. Now you're going to be coating the chocolate chips just to make sure that they don't sink to the bottom in our batter when we're baking our loaf. And this is a tip that I've shared with you guys for a long time, but it is very important when making anything with chocolate chips, any cakes, muffins, loaves. You're going to make sure all the chocolate chips are coated in the flour. Okay, so now we can set this aside and move on to our next step. Now make sure that your butter is at room temperature. This is going to be our first ingredient we'll be adding into our bowl. And just with the spatula, we're just going to kind of mash it up. That's why it's really important that it's at room temperature. And then we're going to add in both of our sugars. And our eggs. And now we're going to switch to a whisk. And we're going to gently mix that together until it's all incorporated. Keep mixing until you have a nice smooth consistency. And now from our pumpkin spice blend, we are going to add in 1 full teaspoon. Okay, add it into our batter and just kind of mix it in. Okay, into that we're going to be adding in our oil, our vegetable oil. Gently we're going to mix that so it doesn't splatter everywhere. And Oneinaminion is doing a great job. Okay, now we'll add in our milk. Give it another little mix carefully. Okay, now we'll add in our pumpkin puree. And give it another whisk. Now we're going to take our spatula and just kind of clean around the edges, make sure we've got everything before we add in our final ingredients. Now we're going to add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Okay, give it another little whisk. And now we'll add in our final 2 ingredients. Now we'll add in our flour mixture and just mix until it is mixed together. Do not overmix. We want a nice mixture. Just till it's combined. And if you want to switch to a spatula, you can do so as well. Okay, so now we have switched to our spatula. And now we're going to add in our chocolate chips. I did set aside about 2.5 tablespoons of chocolate chips so we can put on top of our loaf before we bake it, obviously. And now we'll add in the chocolate chips and we'll just fold them in with the spatula. Now just until everything is folded in, and then we are ready to place it on our prepared baking loaf pan. Okay, so now that Oneinaminion is going to be recording so I can do the fun part here, the more dangerous part, I guess, so nothing goes out of the pan. smells really amazing. All those spices, pumpkin. Okay. Now we'll add in our reserved chocolate chips on top. Put as much or as little as you want. Now make sure when you reserve your chocolate chips, reserve the chocolate chips for the topping before you add in the flour to them. And don't do what I did because I forgot to put them aside before I added the flour. It doesn't make much of a difference, but it is better not to. Okay, now we're ready to place it into our oven. Preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 50 minutes to an hour or so. And then I'll let you know how long mine was in there for and what it looks like when it's done. Okay guys, so my loaf was in the oven for exactly 55 minutes, and now we're gonna let it cool just as it is in the pan. And you can actually cover it with some aluminum foil gently, not to mash up the chocolate chips, which are still really hot. Or you can place a clean cloth, like a tea towel cloth over it, which is what I'm gonna do. And you could leave it for 15 minutes and then we'll remove it from the pan. This will give it a nice moist loaf and a nice crust on the outside of our loaf. So you can also do this with some aluminum foil, as I said. Just wrap it gently and not too tight and leave it for 15 minutes, and then we'll dig into it as soon as the 15 minutes are over. Okay guys, and now we are ready to serve. It was cooling off for about 20 minutes, covered with a tea cloth, and now I have cut into it, and here you have it. So don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, so you can see my future videos, and take care. Thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.